Happy Monday, and today we're still talking about why you should be working with a listing agent, why you should be working with a realtor, and the reasons they're valuable. Now, many realtors begin working representing buyers because, well, it's a little, not less work, but it's different type of work and different footwork that needs to be done. With a listing agent, there's things that need to be researched in the background, important things for the general public and for ourselves to, as a company, to verify that the people who want to sell the property are the legitimate owners. So good listing agents, they do the footwork, finding out, okay, why the house needs to be sold and who owns the property and what is the potential problems of closing. So people who are separated and the house is under one person, or but they're still married, that might trigger a problem, a closing, because the signature of the other spouse might be needed. There's so many scenarios. The children who inherit the home but are truly not assigned to be able to sell the property, only paperwork that's needed from the court in order to have that happen. So that would delay a sale if you don't get the paperwork timely. And so that's what a good listing agent will do. In addition to let you know, well, a lot of people don't sell their houses every day, and houses are living things. They do decay, they do need maintenance, and not everybody's maintaining their house to the nine. When they want to sell it, they want top dollar, but maybe they're not realistic on what the market is trending, what is fashionable, what people are looking for, and what they're willing to pay. So your job as a listing agent is to be realistic, not waste anybody's time. The seller not giving false hope, and not let that sell, not the seller lead, because that's why you're looking for professional help. If you don't do this every day, yes, you should stay what you want. And our job is to let you know what the probabilities of you getting that are, because testing the market is not one thing I do. I don't do that because I have experience. I already know. I'm more realistic. You don't undersell the property. If you put a property to sell, most likely what's going to happen is you're going to have multiple offers and sometimes overbids. And it's so the urgency, the reasons for why the house needs to be sold, all those things need to be analyzed by a good listing realtor. Don't be afraid to work with people who don't have experience, in the sense, as long as they're backed up by a broker or experienced people behind them who are guiding them through the process. Don't be afraid of working with someone who had never listed, because it's better to have an agent who's ethical, who's work hard, and who's eager, and who has a proper support, than to work with a seasoned agent that has an attitude and think who knows it all and cut corners. Not to say they do. There's a lot of, you earn your stripes in this business, and people develop their processes as to who and how and where they're gonna deal with what type of client, and that's because it brings it from experience, from bad experiences, for things that were able to be solved and things that were not be able to solve, to determine what kind of people you want to work with. Us as a listing agents and realtors. But it's still a customer service, and you still want to be treated correctly. It is your property that we are selling, and we don't get paid unless it gets sold. So but we don't want to undersell. And like I said, it's really hard to do that. And of course, a lot of realtors want the house to be updated and fixed before listing, and that will be reflected on the price. However, it depends on the situation. Houses can be sold as is, depending on the agent that you deal with. If they want easy work, well, then there's a lot of them. But there's a lot of agents who tackle houses that are not in the best shape to be sold. However, the price has to be reflective of that, and expectations have to be realistic. And Well, I don't test the market because I do my proper research before, so I can kind of see what is happening. And I don't, let's put the price, because the first exposure is the most exposure your house is going to get. And if your house is not priced correctly, what's going to happen is you're going to blame your realtor for letting you do stop pricing it incorrectly, because they should have been have a strong conversation of realistic conversation of this is not going to work and you're going to blame me. No, we're not doing that. And you're not going to, then people's going to think something's wrong, or that you're difficult to work with because obviously you want a lot in your house doesn't bear either the trends, or it's overpriced, mostly, or it's not in good condition, or outdated, or it could be so many things. But the first exposure is the most important exposure. Therefore, all the homework has to be done up front. And as a good listing agent, you should make aware to the people who are going to sell the property all the documents they're going to need for the title company in order. So when they receive an offer, that will not be a stall, and there will be no surprises, and no in addition to like your basics researching the person who submits an offer to make sure that they're going to have the funds, that there won't be no complications, calling the agent of the mortgage to verify to see if everything's okay and there will be no delays. And if they are, well, at least you know about it, and something that could be negotiated. Everything's negotiated. And if you like the buyers, then and you're willing to wait for them and get their stuff right, then it might work for you. So it's a lot of things that a listing agent looks for. Like I said, it's just different. It comes because it's a little more complex, and it comes when you run into problems. That's where you find out. Hopefully, you have a guy in the office that will avoid those problems for you and who educate you before it happens. But sometimes it happens in the midst of things, and then you learn to solve them, or you learn that won't, hopefully that will not be the case. However, our job as agents in overall is to be able to undo the knots to have the transaction happen without worrying our clients. There's so many things that the clients should not be bothered with, and and things that they need to know in order to think ahead and to make better decisions, or decisions that are what they're looking for their goals, and keeping it legal because they don't know the law. They don't know, that there's a lot of things that we have to obey by. And so the job is to educate, not overwhelm, do our job smoothly, do the background checks on everybody, because like I said, we people like to say many things, but all I tell you is that I work with a lot of people that I don't know them. I only could rely on their background, professional background, and people who I have worked with through the years. I kind of know what they're going to be doing. But sellers and buyers are always new, unless you have repetitive clients, and even like that, you cannot vouch for anybody in that sense. You have to do your trust and verify, and it's for the responsibility of the agent to do that, to avoid future problems. So I wouldn't tackle selling a house on your own, just because there's so many things that you need to know, and it's a lot of research. How can you research problems you never encounter? And that's the bottom line, is you will not know what to look for, because if you've never done it, you will not know the possibilities of things that could happen. And so that's what you're paying for. At least what people pay me for, to solve problems without the drama, if possible, before they even happen. Smooth, nice, and efficient. And that's what you should have in your transaction. It's not just uh, even for yourself, like even if you're selling, you might not know the condition of your title, and you don't know all the problems that might arise because you don't know those things. And we're not here to practice law, but our job is to point out things to guide you on deadlines, on paperwork that you need to have handy, either for the title company, for attorneys, or other parties. I hope this has helped you work with a realtor today.